Welcome, everybody. I'm Dawn Ellison. I'm in the core group of Healthcare Reinvention Collaborative. And today we're fortunate to have a sizzle, No Country for Old People, and two of the people responsible for putting this documentary together, Susie Singer Carter and Rick Mountcastle. We're going to meet them after the viewing. The format's a little bit different than what you may be used to if you've joined us before. We'll be watching the 25-minute sizzle, followed by some Q&A. And then we'll have breakouts at about 55 minutes into the hour, which will be long enough to allow conversation about the topic of how we could do better with respect to caring for our elderly. Please be aware that the sizzle is more of an extended trailer for the documentary No Country for Old People. It relies heavily on graphical representations and does not reflect the full scope or narrative structure of the actual film. The sizzle aims to capture the essence and themes of the documentary, but viewers should note that the final film will present different pacing, tone, detail, and heart. I would like to introduce my co-host, Keely Gales, who is the founder of Health for the People and a keen advocate for a better way of doing health and care. Keely?
Thank you, Dawn. I'm very excited today to be seeing the power of connections made through HRC working in real time.
Yeah.
I had the fortune of meeting Rick a few months back and learning about this project. I'm very excited for the visibility and the conversation that it will bring to an urgent issue. I believe that education and understanding of the issues are the first step toward creating the future of health plus care that we would like to see. Projects like this are what it takes to help the general population understand how severe the problem is. Without further ado, I will get us started with the sizzle reel for No Country for Old People, directed by Susie Singer and produced by Rick Mountcastle. And Denise, if you would go ahead and cue us up.
As I watched my mother fade away within the confines of a nursing home, I discovered that behind the facade of care lies a dark reality of neglect and abuse. This is the story of our struggle and countless others trapped in the grip of the nursing home crisis.
The founder of Cleveland-based Life Care Centers of America is now one of the richest people in America.
The average nursing home is making a ton of money.
The way they move their money is just like a criminal enterprise.
They prefer to line their own pockets.
I've said for 40 years it's legal money laundering.
You just gotta follow the money. This is a $1 trillion business.
We're taking our elders, we're putting them in a warehouse and throwing away the key.
Raping is low staff.
Meanwhile, 10 residents have died from dehydration.
You get stripped of your dignity, you're tortured, and you're tortured to death.
169,291 nursing home residents died who normally wouldn't have died.
That's completely inappropriate, and there's terms for that.
What are those terms?
Well, that's murder.
You are literally killing people to make more money.
It's very clear our love is here to stay, not for a year, but ever and a day. The radio and the telephone and the movies that we know may just be passing fancies, and in time may go. Ooh, my dear.
And you have to wait for Rosa. She's coming. Go, Edie. She doesn't know what to do. Good girl.
Hi, Mom. It's me, Susie. What happened? What's the matter? What hurts? Is it the wound?
I think so.
You're hurting her. But the pump is in the wound, right? Oh, it's bleeding.
I know.
See, you've got to have... But she's on the tube. Mommy, it's okay. I'm right here. I'm right here. Oh my God, it's like they haven't checked her all day. It's okay, Mommy, it's okay. Sorry, Mama. Sorry, Mama. I know. So sorry.
There's a big problem with understaffing. It's at the root of every nursing home problem.
Staffing ratios for most skilled nursing facilities is absurd.
A nursing home can save as much as $1 million a year by keeping their staffing low. And then they keep the wages low and they make money on that.
You have massive profits going to the top, and at the bottom, you have elder abuse. You have the development of pressure injuries, falls, dehydration, malnutrition, infections that become serious. All of that is going on at the nursing home level due to chronic understaffing.
Staffing is the root of all evil. You know, low staffing, it just really is.
So I'm a nurse in long-term care, and today I got put on the rehab unit, usually I work dementia. One of the family members literally sat there and cried with me for a half an hour about how her mom is going to die here, and it made me bawl my eyes out. And she looks at me, she goes, "Do you guys just like not care?" I'm like, it's not that. I definitely care. We cannot do everything. It's so messed up. My 12-hour shift, I get 25 minutes per person. The CNAs, they only work 8 hours. They get 8 minutes per person. We need to do better.
Yeah, that's my mom. You might have heard of her. She sings opera when she was 9, and then she had her own radio show when she was 16, like a big shot, in New York City on CBS, right? And then she belted out a song, and he went, "Whoa, what? Who's singing that?" And they all said, "Her, the little one with the big voice." Right? That was you. Everyone loved Norma, right? Yeah. Everyone. All the men, all the women, but a lot of men too. Am I right? And the autumn weather. She's singing. You singing with me?
We just did the whole movie. Good? Goody, 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 good.
It's been really hard this whole 4 months, and I am a wreck from this, and trying to be strong for my mom.
No long-term care facility should allow a resident to get bed sores or other injuries because wounds are not being treated. That should be just taken care of routinely. And if it's not, somebody's not doing their job.
And I haven't been able to work, and I just feel unmotivated, and I feel impotent to help my mom.
The issues that were challenges that the organization and the people working in this space were dealing with way back in 1975 are still the same issues that we're dealing with today.
So finally, I was so frustrated and said, are we moving forward for the residents or for the nursing homes? You know, we've spent 6 hours on this subject. Meanwhile, 10 residents have died from dehydration. There's nobody there to give them a drink of water.
If you're specifically doing it to make sure the patient just dies in 10 minutes, that's completely inappropriate, and there's terms for that. Oh, that's murder.
Focus, especially in nursing homes, is really more on hospice. And the reason is because hospice is now a really big business in the United States.
Hospice companies make a lot of money on having hospice clients.
Hospice now is very different. Hospice is big business.
Death is a big business.
What kind of words you got for me? What kind of words you got? Like maybe, I love you? Like maybe, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Oh, what in the world? Like,
I'm tired, and obviously depressed, and I feel like I've been going through her dying for the past 4 months because everyone's telling me that she's dying, but she doesn't die. But they're trying to make her die faster than she wants to.
You're dry? You have a dry throat? I know. That's from not having liquid. I'm gonna get you liquid right now, okay? I'm gonna get you juice.
Think about what it would feel like if you weren't allowed to drink for 2 days, 3 days, a week, 6 months. People need to start thinking about how that would feel, because if you live long enough, you're probably going to end up going through that.
A lot of times it is fear on the side of the clinician. I don't want this person to choke and die. Well, that's what they hired you for, to help them to eat without choking and dying.
Good job, Mommy. Suck on it. Get the juice out. Good girl. Okay, now. Yeah.
And as a result, she's in pain because they're not taking care of her.
These are individuals who are holding a license, and I think as a society, we need to look at that and this accountability. We are not just warehousing individuals. When they accept a resident, they're saying that they have the expertise to appropriately care for those individuals. If they can't, then they shouldn't be accepting them.
We had a gentleman who had no cognitive deficits and he rang us from his room and said, I have not been bathed in a month. A month.
Crazy because I'm there every day and I still am fighting to get people to pay attention. So, and I'm also the enemy there now, and that doesn't feel good. So
why my mother usually got better care, honestly, is because people would see me coming and they were like, uh-oh. And that's not the relationship I want to have with people, but that is the relationship I needed to have for my mother to get what she needed.
You're wrong, and you don't know what you're talking about, and and then the fear in you, and then they start kind of putting a criminal feeling on you, like if you even think about it, if something happens, then you're not a good carer. You haven't been a good carer. You're the bad other now, and you listen to what we say, and this is the best thing for her, and it was horrifying. It was absolutely horrifying, and she never went home after that. Never.
it's really hard for one person to advocate, let alone I can't imagine the people that have no one to advocate.
Fighting for his dignity, for proper end-of-life care, was a horrible battle from hell.
And I'm calling the nurse's station. There's no one picking up the damn phone.
My mother's death was a brutal death at the nursing home.
The way they move their money is just like a criminal enterprise. This looks just like money laundering.
Raping is low staff. Choking is low staff.
First, you get stripped of your dignity. Second, you're tortured. And third, you're tortured to death.
It's a combination between the ableism and the ageism in this country. You know, these people are at the bottom of the heap. It's where things are. To me, it's the shame of the nation. They're throwaway people. That's all they are, just throwaway people.
When cash is the primary reason for doing something anywhere in the healthcare system, people suffer.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
We want to turn now to the crisis facing nearly every nursing home across the country. 87% of providers are facing staffing shortages.
The nation's largest nursing home association is warning of negative impacts for their industry in the Biden administration's Build Back Better plan.
It's nice to say, let's have these mandatory minimum staffing levels, but there are no Medicaid funds or Medicare funds or any other funding in the Build Back Better bill to pay for this.
I struggle to accept the premise that nursing homes are underfunded when their owners are living in homes that are sometimes worth $11 million.
There is the huge ethical issue within this industry is you are literally killing people to make more money.
There are no Medicaid funds or Medicare funds to pay for this.
This is because moral injury, right? And because of this gap between what we want to do and what are we doing. It's terrifying because you are talking about 1 to 2 physicians dying every day in this country by suicide, and then you have nurses and other healthcare professionals, so and their numbers are not necessarily better.
A shocking video just coming to light. 2 nursing home employees caught on camera tormenting.
What changed the disability movement was Mothers from Hell. What's going to change long-term care is Daughters from Hell. So there you are.
I'm in. That's me.
We're experiencing experiencing extraordinary times that require extraordinary commitment to making a difference and being the change. I mean, think about how many movements in human history were shaped by the poets, the artists, people doing documentaries, music, you know, and that's how we can shift and shape and revolutionize our care system. So it does really begin with us.
How do we change a system that is so corrupt, that has been this way for decades? It really is going to be a matter of the community coming together and uniting to combat that influence.
If being honest and having integrity gets you in trouble, keep doing it.
A project like this, I think, would hopefully wake the consciousness that there is no left or right when it comes to taking care of older adults. We all have a duty as a society, community, as humans, to take care of our older adults. And if we lose that sense of consciousness, I don't think we don't have a humanity.
Do we care about the patients, the residents, or do we care about the finances of the healthcare industrial complex? And we have to look in the mirror and ask ourselves as a country, what are we going to do for our older adults, for our most vulnerable, for our loved ones? And I think that's why you're doing this documentary.
Wow, I feel like I need to take a deep breath. I don't know about anybody else. So powerful and difficult to watch. Susie, thank you so much for sharing your mom with us. She looks like she was so special. What result would you like to see come out of this project?
Well, thank you for having us on this platform and being able to share this with everybody. You know, I in 2022, I had no idea that this was happening. I couldn't even wrap my head around what was going on, and I had no idea that there was a systemic crisis at all. So I think that, you know, what I hope that this film will do is to educate and to inform people, and so that they're not left in a lurch like I was, you know, and sucker punched and playing whack-a-mole at the last minute and really not knowing what rights they have, what they can and can't do. And so, you know, the film basically answers 4 questions: what happens, how does it happen, why does it happen, and how do we fix it? And you know, I would want to throw it to Rick, because Rick Montcastle, who I'm gonna botch his introduction, but I'll just tell you that, you know, he was he is a former award-winning prosecutor. You might know him from the Purdue Pharma case, again, where he prosecuted the oh my God, I'm so emotional right now.
Susie.
Thank you.
I'll just go ahead. I'm a retired federal and state prosecutor, former United States attorney in the Western District of Virginia, and I spent 2 decades leading criminal and civil prosecutions of companies and individuals in the healthcare space who unlawfully exploited the most vulnerable, including nursing home residents. And I was the lead prosecutor against OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma, the first case back in 2007, which was depicted in the Emmy-nominated miniseries Dopesick. I also led the prosecution of Abbott Laboratories for unlawfully marketing its epilepsy drug Depakote to be used as a chemical restraint, basically, for agitation in nursing home residents with dementia. And I also prosecuted and investigated nursing homes, nursing home owners and executives for fraud and neglect and abuse. And so that's kind of, there's a long story that I'm not going to go into how I got connected with Susie Singer Carter as I was retiring, but it has to do with the Purdue Pharma case in the Hulu miniseries, and the mention in that series of what was going to be our next case, Abbott Laboratories and Depakote. And that started a conversation over 2 years ago between Susie and me. And
because my mom was a victim of Depakote too. That's why I just want to put that in there, because it's part of the story, and it is, you know, what happens to a lot of people.
So despite spending decades of my life and hours of my time doing these cases, trying to make things better within the system, what I saw after all of that time is that nothing was getting better. In fact, things were getting worse, and that there needed to be some other way. There needed to be a change to the system. The system was bad, and so working within the system to try to go and take out a few bad actors wasn't doing a thing really for society as a whole. I will say, though, that those individual cases helped certain individual people that were directly affected, but the system just kept getting worse and worse. And so it's gotten to the point, when I retired, when I left the Virginia Attorney General's office, which I went to work for after I retired from the feds, was that the nursing home industry in particular, you had a situation where what I call systemic neglect, not answering call bells, having residents soil themselves because there wasn't enough staff to help them to the bathroom, missing meals, missing medications, and other forms of neglect had actually become the norm and had actually become part of the standard of care. And that to me is outrageous. Okay. And that to me requires that needs to be changed now. And so that's why Susie and I were talking, and we were talking about, well, how do we change things? And so what I saw was that there was power in the media, and in order to change anything in our healthcare system, and I will say this, the long-term care industry is just I would say is just a tip of the iceberg of the problems that exist throughout the healthcare system, is that you have to combat the power and the money that is striving to keep things the same. And we don't have that kind of power. We don't have that kind of money. So we have to bring people together. Our currency, as Susie has coined the phrase, our currency is people, is you all, we got to bring people together. We got to expand our community. And so we decided that, Susie decided that she wanted to make this film. And I said, I'm all in. Let's do something where we can bring attention to at least one of these problems, this problem here that is, we have people suffering as we're having this session. People in nursing homes are suffering and dying. And so to us, there's a sense of urgency. We have to act now. We have to figure out some way to begin to alleviate that suffering. And so we decided that let's do this documentary so we can spotlight the problem, so that we can start a movement. Okay, this is not just, we're making a movie, we're going to put it out there, and then we're going to all walk away. No, this is the beginning of a years-long battle, a years-long war to force a change to this system. And so part of what we want to do not only is to put out the film to as wide an audience as possible. So we're, and I'm going to give a little update on what we're doing in that regard. But we want to also start a movement to bring people together to demand change and to go to our politicians and our rule makers and our policymakers and say, hey, you cannot just keep taking money from this industry and all the other healthcare industries that are out there lobbying away to keep things the same and to keep the flow of money coming from the government in the form of Medicare, Medicaid, and other dollars because there's lots of other agencies that pay into it. There's the you can name OPM, Veterans Administration. There is a ton of money being spent on bad healthcare. Okay, and there's a ton of that money is being funneled back to the politicians in the form of campaign contributions and lobbying. That's our money that's being spent so that we can keep having crappy healthcare, basically. Okay, so we have got to bring people together and confront that and demand a change. And it's going to be a battle, everybody. It's going to be a war. So that's the real purpose for this film. Okay, and so we've got sort of this. We want to educate and enlighten the public, of course. We want to foster a shift in the collective consciousness because we want people that don't realize what's going on to know what's going on. We want people who don't think there's a way to change it to realize, yes, there is a way to change it. And we want to then create a groundswell, a movement of action for change.
So you've got over 60 people on the call today, Rick and Susie. How can we support you in this cause?
Well, first I'll just say, just on to piggyback on what Rick was saying, we have started a movement, a people over profit movement, and it is going to take, it can't, this change can't happen from the top down. We've seen that. It's not going to happen. And so it has to really start with the public and with the collective and that power behind that and what we've seen in other movements. And so we invite you. This is, I'm a filmmaker. That's what I do. I have never done a movement. I wore my pink hat for the pink pussy hat. And I've done, I've marched my march, but I've not created one. And that's something that we're reaching out to the public right now currently to do, is to engage with people that know how to do this, that know how to start movements like this and really help us amplify this, because I know that we have the power to make this change, and that traditional advocacy is just not working. So, you can go to our website, which is nocountryforoldpeople.com. You go to the page that is People Over Profit Movement, and there is a way to, add your name to the list. Tell us where your skills are, how you want to participate, and we are happy to have you. And so that is part one. Part two, take it away, Rick.
Well, we're in the final stages of making this film ready for distribution. So we have a final cut, and we still need to do sound mixing and music licensing, two things that require funding. We're also initiating a public relations campaign to prepare the film for distribution. Our goal is to get the widest distribution and viewership possible. And we are having conversations with, right now, I think at least 2 and possibly 3 distributors about how to make that happen. But in order to do the final touches on the film, we need to raise a final $30,000. All of our funding to date has come from crowdfunding. We've taken no corporate or special interest money. This is a grassroots film to go along with the grassroots movement that Susie just mentioned. And so we're asking for your help to raise these finishing funds. All contributions are fully tax deductible through our fiscal sponsor, the National Consumer Voice for Quality Long-Term Care. And all donors will receive an acknowledgement in the film credits, and there's different levels of acknowledgement depending on the amount that's contributed. And I think you can probably, you should be able to find that on the website if you're interested in what those levels are. And to contribute financially, you can go to the National Consumer Voices website and find the link to the No Country for Old People documentary, or you can go to nocountryforoldpeople.com where you'll find a link that'll take you to that same website with the National Consumer Voice. And also on that nocountryforoldpeople.com, you'll find much more information about the film and all the experts that we've talked to, anything else you could possibly be asking about the documentary. Our intention is to have it released and viewed by the fall. So we're maybe 90 days or so from now. That's our goal. We're going to be doing a screening at the annual meeting of the National Consumer Voice at the end of September. And so that's, we need your help that way, but we're also going to need your help with the movement, pulling together all of our networks that we have, getting everybody together to demand change. And I will say that the other thing, personally, I view this as a model, a possible model for affecting change in other areas of the healthcare system, because, Lord knows that we even touched upon it. We had to limit what we put in the film. You could do a whole documentary about the hospice system. You could do a whole documentary about hospitals. You could do a whole documentary about physicians and nurses. There are so many different aspects of our system that is broken. And I think most of us on this call realize that, and are working in some way to fix that. Mm-hmm. What I'm looking at is you're going to have to, you've all got great ideas on where the system needs to be, but you're going to be battling. You're going to be going to war against the money and power that doesn't want you to implement those ideas, because they are just making a ton of money right now, and that's all that matters. So this is, I'm looking at this as a model for how you overcome that kind of opposition to where we all know the healthcare system needs to be. So
Thanks,
please help.
Thanks. And hopefully you've got those links in the chat there so that people can go to those. So Healthcare Reinvention Collaborative is really, this is right in alignment with what our purpose is, right? We're a network of networks trying to reinvent healthcare. We, HRC, are not going to reinvent it ourselves, but we hope to bring a lot of people along that are a lot of smart people along that have ideas and can work together and network their networks. Sorry, dog in the back. And so we're there with you. I'm wondering, I have to ask you, what are we moving towards, do you think? What is the quality of a utopic skilled nursing system, for instance, just narrowing it to that? What are we moving towards? What is that movement going towards, do you think?
Well, that's a big question. That's basically, there's so many, I'm sorry, there's a beep in the background, some cars going off, but there's so many wonderful frames of care that we've come across with the Eden Project, the greenhouse, the eco-friendly, and so on and so on. There's a lot, and I know you're going to discuss one later on. And they all are valuable, and they all take into the account the dignity and the quality of life and the respect and all the things that we want to see happen. But I think at the end of the day, we have to get rid of the greed first, because the greed is overpowering all of those good ideas. And so, that's what has to happen first. And then we can really redirect the money that is there for that kind of quality of life to go back to where it belongs. And that's our goal, so that you all who have these amazing ideas and framework, which I've seen them all. I could do a documentary on that, but I think what's most important first is to get the corruption out first, so that we can really, because there is money, like we said, there's plenty of money. That's why there is corruption.
Yeah, greed is making the decisions for us.
It is, yeah, and it happens in every sector of business, right?
And a lot of people talk about, well, what about taking care of our loved ones at home? Mm-hmm. Well, that's all well and good, but you need help to do that. Especially if the person, you have to have help you need a 2-person lift, or there are medical issues that need to be taken care of by a professional, but there's no money to help home family caregivers. All the money goes into these institutions. So maybe it's let's split off some of that money to give caregivers a choice, because there's no choice right now. If you've got someone that needs to have skilled nursing care, there's no money for you to do that at home in a safe and proper way. So yes, it's all about greed. It's all about where the government is spending its money, and we have to change that and allow for these other options, because greenhouse, eco-friendly, all that, the money is not available to really scale up those kinds of great ideas. So we have to come together. We have to go to the politicians as a people, as loved ones from hell, and demand that things be changed.
So I want to open it up to everyone else for questions. And Keel, if you want to take that over.
Yeah, we're a little bit behind on time, so unfortunately we're going to have to limit it, I believe, to 1 or 2 questions, depending on how long we need to answer those. So if there's anybody that has a burning question, go ahead and drop that into the chat or raise your hand.
Mary.
Well, I wish I don't have a burning question. I have a burning statement of support, because I want to underlie 1,000, as somebody who has built movements in communities, I want to express my deep appreciation to Rick and Susie for showing us a little bit of that history of how change has actually come about. And it's interesting because I think there's such a contrast. Nobody in this country likes long-term care. I mean, nobody. If you talk to average people, nobody says, oh gosh, I want to go there. Now, do they know the depth of it? No. So I'm very eager to work with everyone here and do whatever I can do to reach those people, because there is a much broader audience out there. And for the most part, I think in addition to greed, I think that these people count on us keeping quiet and us not galvanizing the vast majority of people. It's easy to kind of dismiss those of us who are in the know and kind of do this. It's less easy, as we've seen countless times, to ignore just Joe and Jill, regular people who come up and say, no, this isn't the way, this isn't the country we want to live in, regardless of whether they have a vested interest in care homes or not. So I just want to say right on, I will do everything possible to build a movement that can make a difference.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Anybody have a burning question they have to ask right now? If not, we're going to move on because we do want to have a really wonderful conversation. Not seeing any hands up in the air. Wonderful. Okay. All right. Well, thank you both so much for taking time to answer all of those questions and really just for all of the work that you've put into this thus far. We are fired up. I'm really excited to see all of the people in the chat and some of the movement that's already happened. Saw at least one donation already. So thank you so much. And please share on your, Facebooks, LinkedIn, wherever you can share that to help get the word out. What we would like to do is kind of shift the conversation at this point a little bit to figuring out what is better, right? The step one is getting angry, right? When Rick and I first discussed this, I said, yeah, the people need to get pissed off. Pardon my French, but that is what has to happen. And that's what this documentary is going to do a wonderful job of. We all feel it right now. But step two is doing something with that energy. And so we want to find the next step in that direction. But in order to figure out what is the next best step, sometimes the way that we need to get there is to decide what we want it to look like 20 years from now, and then work backward to figure out how do we get there. So first, we're going to go over really quickly 7 different models or examples of things that are happening currently that you should have gotten access and links to in the reminder email this morning. So you can always go back and look more at these. I won't go into depth about them. But these are just some things to think about when we're trying to decide what could it look like, right? So the first one that I'm going to bring up is intergenerational daycare centers. If you haven't heard of this, it's essentially a center where they take care of both our youth and our aging in the same facility. And that gives them opportunities to interact with each other. And there's been some really wonderful studies that show that this is wonderful for development of the children and for helping slow dementia and improve aging in our elders. The second one that I'm going to discuss right now is utilizing college students. in order to help fill some of the care gap needs for people who maybe don't need full-time care, but they need someone who can come in and check on them, and they may not have a family member nearby to be able to do that for them. There is a company called Care Yaya that is highlighted here, but there are other demonstrations of this in other places as well. The third one we're going to talk about is Scotland's model. So in Scotland, they're doing some really, really cool stuff around elder care. And the biggest part of that, this is my big thing, if you can't tell, is that they took care and they put it back into healthcare. So they don't consider these two separate entities in Scotland, and therefore they fund it just like they fund the rest of their universal health model. And that allows them to do some really unique things, including paying family caregivers to provide the care at home, as well as helping provide financial assistance for people who do need to live in a skilled nursing facility or similar. It also allows, their program also has something called the Long-Term Conditions Collaborative, which is really, really neat. And it's including the general population and some of the decision-making on how do we treat our elders? What is our value there? The next one we're going to talk about is utilizing current care facilities more fully, right? So that's a lot of what Susie is trying to get to here. Like, let's fix this, right? This thing is broken, let's fix this. And there are a number of good examples, as Susie discussed, and one of the ones that I found on my own and she just said was the Greenhouse Project. So I have linked to that as well, and that is in your email. And I hope that you will kind of look at what they're doing differently there to think about ways that we could be improving this specific system. The last one that we're going to discuss briefly here before we go into our breakouts is the Buurtzorg model. And that is a horizontal managed care delivery versus hierarchical. And Dawn, if you'd like, I'll give you a minute or two to go a little bit more in depth with that one.
Sure. So this started in the Netherlands and has spread beyond the Netherlands. And it is very much a relationship-based horizontal system. They start with like 6 nurses that make the decisions. You know, it's very kind of folks that are in front of the patients are the ones that are making the decisions. They added coaches for the nursing teams later. But there's just no marketing department, no HR department. If they grow within one work unit up to 12, then they break that work unit down to 6 and 6 again. So they keep the work units small. That helps with the relationship building. And it's a system that is home health care and has spread rapidly in the Netherlands. It's pretty impressive. I put a link in for a quick 5-minute video to watch that.
And then Dawn, you can go ahead and give the instructions for the breakout rooms because we're back on schedule.
All right, pretty much. All right, so we're gonna go into breakout rooms, about 3 to 4 people per breakout. If you aren't sticking around for the conversation in the breakouts, please let us know now so we can make the breakouts about the right size. When you get into the room, just introduce yourself briefly with name, pronouns, and life's work, maybe 3 sentences, and then choose a reporter right away that will share 3 qualities of a utopic system. So we're going to try to imagine what is possible. Please assure voice equity by speaking with intention. So speaking to the point, and then listening with attention. Try to listen to understand. You'll have about 15 minutes in the breakout. And so the questions really that you're asking are, what is possible? Where could we start? And then name those 3 qualities of a utopic system. What questions do you have before we put you into the breakouts? I don't see anything in the chat.
All right.
I'll assume everybody's ready to go.
Okay, here we go.
See you on the other side.
Going to create these, and if you need to leave a room for any reason, I believe Denise or I will be in the waiting room, and so if you get kicked out when we need to put you back in, don't worry, we'll get you back in there. So we have about a couple people dropping out here. Let me just make sure we're at the right number, and here we go. See you all in about 15 minutes.
So fast.
I know it goes so quickly, right? I know. And I'm sure you guys have all the answers now, right? So,
Yeah.
so I hope you chose a reporter for your group. And if you could, in the chat, if you got to those 3 qualities of the utopic system, put those in the chat. And also we have a poll for the non-reporters and of course the reporters when you get around to it to answer. And I think either Denise or Keely just put that up. So go ahead and take a look at that poll also and see what you might think is the answer to our woes in terms of overall healthcare.
Okay, while everybody is answering that poll, I'm going to start reading out loud the qualities that everyone's sharing in the chat. So Kathleen shared from her room, caring and loving, intergenerational, and locally administered by an interdisciplinary team. I love all of those. I think we're going to see a lot of overlap here, but I appreciate that one. So for room 4, we had education, purpose, and respect. From room 5, we had choices, staffing, adequate staffing, I'm sure, and humanity. From room 6, not the qualities, but what is needed is sharing stories.
Any other reporters want to share out what your group talked about? Here comes one.
We got from room 2, dignified, valued residents, and a culture of good. I like that. Room 1 says home ideal, 24/7 support, remodel as needed, start state level Medicare guidelines, minimum, pardon me as it more come in, standards of care, absolutely, and pay regardless of location, diagnosis and need-based, should be free. I love that one. Anybody who knows me knows I love that one. From room 9, we have community, connectivity, and doctors not misusing medications. Yep, or overusing polypharmacy. Let's see, we have empowered rotating board of family members holding staff and facility accountable for responsive, humane care. Must be truly empowered, not just lip service, placating of families and residents, or families of residents. Doreen added in common sense, respect, and accountability. And Paul, the author of the ACO concept, is a college classmate. He said the concept has to work at the community level. Susie, Debbie, and Susan said address ageism that permits those empowered to dismiss quality care, support family givers, focus, I think it says care, focus on preventative care, distribute resources across all people and populations in need. I love it. And then we have, which is what NTH, the Nurses Transforming Healthcare is advocating for in the Flip Your Zip. Nice plug there, Kathleen. So I think that might be all of the rooms. If more come in, we will bring them back up. I'm trying to see if I can get our poll back up here.
Do you want me to end and share?
Sure, go ahead, Denise.
So it looks like the winner was none of these, something yet to be defined.
My suspicions were correct. And this is one thing that Health for the People, if you're not familiar with us, that's the group that I started, is all about, right? Figuring out what is that plan? What is that bigger overarching umbrella that's going to allow us to create the solutions for each of these problem areas underneath of that? I won't belabor that point anymore. Thank you all so much for participating, for giving this feedback. And just to wrap up here, I wanted to, just review the asks for today. We really appreciate Susie and Rick coming in here and giving their time and their talent to this project. And so you should have those links already for the donation and the People Over Profits movement, and they will be resent out in the follow-up email, correct, Denise? And we'll also have those links that went in the pre one, because I know there's a couple people who somehow didn't get the reminder this morning. And I want to say that if you are fired up and excited about the energy that this reel brought and want to create this into real substantial change, I hope that you'll join us for a follow-up event. We will take the vision that we've co-created today, all of these qualities that we've decided would be that utopia, and work backward from that. So we want to figure out, you know, in 20 years, what could this look like? And then what does it need to look like 10 years from now to get us there, and 5 years from now? And work backward to the point that we can see what could be the next step, right? And how do we work together, and what do we need to do to get the right people together to start really pushing this vision forward? For those of you who have been in the listening events, the HRC listening events this week, you have an idea of what the format of that will look like. If you have not joined one of those, you should. We have another one coming up this week, and then there will be 2 more following that. So go ahead and sign up for one of those. Virgil is there, and he can give you some feedback on what his experience was, as well as some other individuals. But that's kind of the format that we're going to use. So there's a whiteboard essentially in front of us that we can all play together to figure out what could that look like. We want to, sorry. Oh yeah, if you have not already, please join our mailing list. And if you're not on there, go ahead and put that in the chat and let us know that you want to join it, so we can add you there, and that will allow you to know of these upcoming events. It's not scheduled yet, but also keep an eye out on LinkedIn. And as anyone who has joined one of these meetings, you will be invited to the Healthcare Reinvention Collaborative Mighty Network if you would like to be. And so please let us know that if you're interested, and we will get you the information so you can really join this community and be part of having this conversation moving forward. Am I missing anything, Dawn?
I'm just wondering if, since we have 4 minutes left, if Denise wanted to show the map. We did talk about that.
I apologize. I didn't have it queued up because
Okay,
I didn't think
that's
we'd
not
have
a
time.
problem.
No, that's
Not a
okay.
problem. I see that there was a Judy who was, I believe, in room 8 that was looking for contacts of the other people in room 8. Maybe if people want to share their contacts in the chat with the others on the call, we could do that now.
And
Just,
everybody
wait
can
to connect
download the chat right after. Is that how?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because there's a lot of good information in the chat, and I wasn't actually able to follow everything because it goes by so fast. So
I'll also share it in the follow-up email.
okay, wonderful. Thank you, Denise.
Just click on the three dots on the bottom of the box, the chat, and save chat.
And Rick, did you have something?
Just one last thing. Susie and I and Don Prius are collecting stories from people, and there's a place on the website to download a story, either video or handwritten and all that. Upload. Yes, right, upload. And so, and that's part of the ongoing process that we envision going forward. And then the last thing I would like to think is to thank Healthcare Reinvention Collaborative for hosting this. We appreciate it very much, and thank everybody that attended. We thank you for allowing us to take up some of your time.
Thank you so much. It means the world to us.
And you're very welcome. We're so happy to host you today.
Thank you all so much. And Lonnie did drop in the chat there the link for tomorrow's Listening to You. If you're able to join that, it's going to be a really wonderful conversation. It went very well earlier this week, and we have so much fun doing this. I hope you will join. And if not, there are 2 more if that date doesn't work for you.
All right.
Okay, super. I can't believe we're actually finishing 2 minutes early.
I know. Good job, everybody. Thank you all so much for participating, and we hope to see you at an event and or in HRC soon.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.